Hey writers, we are almost done with the class. Again, we're halfway through, so check in with me and let me know how it's going. Today I'd like to talk with you about whom to ask for feedback on your writing, and so let's get to it. So I'll share the screen and go through the PowerPoint as usual. So let's do it. Okay, so who should you ask for feedback? Let's look into it. Now, it doesn't always have to be a person who's a writer. Like I told you in the last video, my husband is not a writer, but he's a reader and he writes for work. But he'll give me honest feedback. So that's why he's one of my early readers. He also understands what I'm trying to do and understands my voice, which is really, really important. My best friend, who is one of my early readers, understands my genre, understands what I'm trying to do with my writing, likes the style of my writing, but both of them will be brutally honest, which is important. You don't want people who just say it's fabulous. Like my mom loves my books, but I don't know if she'd be a good early reader because I don't know what kind of feedback she would offer. Um, I also look for critique partners who are at the same writing level as me or even better than me because then I have something to learn from them. People who just put you up on a pedestal are not going to be helpful for feedback. And you also want to respect people's time. So I have a collection of essays coming out in January, and I did not ask my best friend to read it because I don't think she has time. Um, it's November right now, it's an election year, and she is a county commissioner where she lives, and she's up for election, and that's really busy. Plus, she's a nurse in the cardiac ICU. She doesn't have the time. I really want her to read my novels, so I have other people reading the collection of essays, most of which have already been published. So you want to make sure that somebody who you ask to give you feedback has the time to do it and will actually follow through. Um, and I also give a little bit of a thank you to them afterwards. So I usually send a gift, a pretty significant one, because it's really out of the goodness of their heart that they're reading this for me. If you use beta readers, which I'll get to in a little bit, you don't have to thank them for it, but you also get what you pay for. So here are some questions, and these are in the items in wet ink as well. But when you ask specific questions of your early readers or beta readers, you have a better chance of getting good feedback. I gave one of my novels to a friend to read who is a reader who understands my genre, and I got really vague general feedback from her because I wasn't specific in what I wanted to know. So where do you think it's weak? Those are the specific questions you should ask your readers to see if they can direct you where you need to go with it. And when you're asking for feedback, I would be super specific, not only about the kind of feedback you want, but when you need it back from them. And check in with them because people get busy, they have lives, and they're doing you a favor. Um, and then, of course, like I said, thank them in some way. If you're not sending a gift, send a thank you note, send them a free copy of the book for sure. I always acknowledge my early readers, and they always get free copies of my books when they publish. I mentioned developmental edits earlier in the last video. They're really useful for your first book. Um, I do them. I'm happy to talk with you about doing a developmental edit for you when you're at that point. There are lots of others too, and I actually interviewed a few developmental editors before my first novel, and I chose the one that I thought was best aligned with me and my goals. At the same time, I write very Jewish books, and I looked for a developmental editor who was not Jewish so that I could understand if the book appealed to a broader audience. Um, so I would say it's a good investment. Really choose the person carefully, understand it's not cheap, and it takes a little bit of time. You'll get a lot of feedback. I think I got like 28 pages of feedback. I'm not kidding. And it was really useful and helpful. When I give feedback, it's about that long. I really go into depth. I tend to do a copy edit with the developmental edit, but most people don't. If you are self-publishing, you're going to want to hire somebody who does proofreading and copy editing as well. So just keep that in mind for your budget. When do you hire this editor? Well, when you've done all you can in the manuscript, so several rounds of revisions, and then you've done another read through, maybe after you've asked others for feedback. Like I said, I send a manuscript to my editor after my early readers are done with it. So I've had other eyes look at it, and the editor has less work to do at that point too. Like I said, you're going to want some additional layers of editing. If you are self-publishing, this is all on your own dime. If you're being traditionally published, that'll be part of your contract. And hybrid publishing, it will be as well, and you will pay for it since that is part of the deal. We'll get to publishing next week. If you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. Hope this was helpful.